Welcome to today's edition of Politics Alive. On today's edition, we have as our guest, Special Advisor on Media, Communication and Public Affairs of Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council, Mr. Dele Alake. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, let's start the conversation. You are one of the closest associates of the APC presidential candidate.
Right.
And you served with him for 8 years as Commissioner for Information and Strategy of Lagos State.
Correct.
Can you please give us a front row view into the kind of personality, the kind of person Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is?
Oh, thank you very much. That's an interesting one. My proximity to Asiwaju actually is a privilege into what I actually am a student of. That is, I'm a student of human behavior. And his has been a subject that I've studied very closely for over 3 decades of association. Asiwaju Tinubu is an enigma, as it were. He's a man of many parts. Like him or hate him, there are certain attributes that you find very rare, uncommon, but that are embedded and combined in him. And I've always said this at various interviews and fora and all that. And these are leadership qualities that are rare in our climb. Vision, courage, knowledge. Those 3 attributes are quite rare in the successive leadership groups that we've always had in Nigeria. But I find Asiwaju to have all of these attributes inherent in him. They come out naturally out of him. Not that he makes an effort or strenuous effort in being knowledgeable, in being courageous, in being visionary. They just come out naturally. Now, if we come to the human angle of him, he's a very simple person. Very, very humble. In fact, his exterior many times belie his interior. The solidity of his character. He can be as playful, as jovial, as simplistic when it comes to, unofficial matters. But if you look at all of those as a summation of his character, you'll be mistaken. Because when it comes to officialdom, he's very stern, very firm, fair but firm, meticulous, thorough, and is very exhaustive. Now, one of the factors that have been responsible for my long association with him, and let me say that I find very admirable in him for accommodating my own idiosyncrasies as an individual. I'm a very argumentative person. And that's why I did not join the military, because I cannot obey the last order. That order must be logical. It must be reasonable. I can't obey just any order. And that means I cannot obey any order from any superior without I being afforded the opportunity of reasoning that order out.
There must be a reason.
There must be a reason. It must be logical. It must be altruistic. It should not be selfish. So when I'm convinced of that order, I will carry out that order beyond your own imaginations, because I've been convinced, and I will act out of conviction. And Asiwaju Tinubu has been able to accommodate that. Individuals' foibles. And that speaks to his capacity to manage human beings, which of course is obvious, which everybody in Nigeria and beyond have come to recognize. He has been able to mentor people, develop people to high levels in Nigeria, either in the political firmament or in the private sector and stuff like that. He has all of these attributes that you just find, you don't find as commonplace even amongst many leaders that one has come across. And so he has been built for leadership. Even those who have known him all his life, his childhood friends, and a lot that I met through him, who've known him far more, longer than I have, they also tell me the same thing. That even from childhood, from toddler, from their youthful days, he's exhibited all of these attributes that I have come to appreciate, to identify and appreciate in him. So in a nutshell, he is someone who works assiduously. Once he's convinced of the rightness of a cause, he pursues the cause.
Okay, thank you for that. So much has been said about his leadership of Lagos State as governor for 8 years, from 1999 to 2007.
Right.
Reforms, public service reforms, infrastructural development, and developing a workable blueprint that successive administration in Lagos State has followed up to now. But do you really think that his success, Lagos, actually recommends him to be the next president of Nigeria?
Exactly. Nothing else could have more eloquently recommended him. And I never tire of saying it and repeating it, that his track record, his antecedent in Lagos have combined to shoot him up to national prominence. And of course, he wasn't the only governor in 1999 to 2007.
True.
How many governors of that set can you recall offhand, even the names? Not to talk of, achieving high political pedestal or his other attainments. How many of them? They are very few and far between. And he towers heads and shoulders above any one of them, of that class, and of subsequent classes. So all of those Lagos achievements and everything, his wherewithal, have recommended him substantially for national leadership. And don't forget that even in Lagos, he left office 15 years ago. Most people still think that he's in office. Because he's a restless achiever. He is not satisfied with achieving one point, he moves to the next. As soon as he puts one in the bag, he moves to the next thing. And his achievements straddle the entire firmament, all sectors of human endeavor: social, political, economic, financial, you name it. There's no area that you will not find his stamp in the administration of Lagos, in the development of modern Lagos. Yes, previous administrations before him had contributed their own quota, and we always give credence and acknowledgement to the founding fathers of Lagos, like Mobolaji Johnson, who was the first governor, military governor. And of course, when you operate in a military environment, it's totally a different ballgame. You don't have all the strictures, the circumscribing factors and variables that you contend with in a
democratic setting.
Exactly. So it's more difficult to achieve in a democracy
than in the military. Because in military there's no House of Assembly, no checks and balances. The military will rule by decree or edict. And God help you if you are in opposition to the military. No trials, no nothing. Trials were luxuries and stuff. But in a democratic environment, you must seek to carry the people along. They must appreciate the policies and programs and projects. You must get their buy-in to be able to even make a modicum of progress. So he's been able to really weld all of these factors of democracy together to achieve infrastructurally, socially, politically, in every aspect of human endeavor. Now, let's talk about his politics. He was described as the last man standing,
right,
having survived the hurricane PDP, or do we call it Hurricane Obasanjo, in 2003 in Southwest, being the only Alliance for Democracy surviving governor. And from there, he was able to launch that party, nurture it into being able to becoming a behemoth in Southwest, winning elections and reclaiming the mandates in 5 states, including Edo State. Then formation of APC in 2013, up to now. Now, he has established himself as a formidable politician, a tactician. Now, he's going to transit from what people will call a regional leader, a regional politician, to a national status. Do you think he will have the temperament and the capacity to be able to be a national political figure as president of Nigeria?
I believe so, in all ramifications. In fact, it is about the best in the firmament for now that has all the ingredients necessary to move Nigeria forward and to, you know, as it were, lead this country in the present circumstances that we found ourselves. And why do I say so? You yourself, you've answered, you know, partly. You've supplied the answer because you've traced his trajectory from being a governor in Lagos State, and then in 2003 becoming the only surviving governor in the entire Southwest. And using that platform of Lagos State governorship to recover all the other states. That's not a fluke.
Definitely not.
It takes an uncanny capacity, an ability, brain power, political strategizing, managerial capacity, and a sense of public responsibility and responsiveness to be able to gather and mobilize all the required forces. Not military force, the civilian forces, aggregate all the views, the opinions, the various groups, political groups. The greatest or the most difficult assignment or function is to manage human beings. And for him to be able to manage the human beings around him and ensure that all the states of the Southwest were brought back into the fold of the progressives. And not only that, led that region into a national platform that has now gone down in history as the first and yet only successful attempt at the progressive wresting power at the center in Nigeria. I mean, a Dollard couldn't have achieved that. It takes a lot of grit, brains, and brawn to achieve that feat. Don't forget that several people have attempted in the past to do it. Even our revered sage, the inimitable Awolowo, the irrepressible, I mean, the what you could call a mini god of Yoruba land, and who was the best president Nigeria never had, recognized locally and internationally. He was the only black man that the British, one British leader said of that he was the only black man that had the mental capacity to be a British Prime Minister. Yes. But he couldn't achieve what this man has achieved. So if you look at it, even from spiritual dimension, you look at where he's coming from, what he's gone through, the struggles, the battles that he has waged and won and survived up till now. And don't forget, he was also, I mean, with all sense of modesty, he was a live wire behind this merger that has produced the current dispensation. So for such a person, you have to commend his ability to manage human beings and manage resources. And then what do you need to manage a country? That's a principle. The ability to manage human beings and the capacity to manage resources judiciously.
Yeah.
So he's got all of those.
Great. Now, the campaign season is here. INEC, as the referee, has already blown the whistle for campaign activity to start. So, where are we with APC, and how far has the party prepared for
very, very well. Thank you for that question. I was asked sometime back about that. The interviewer asked me, why does APC seem to be lagging behind? They've not unveiled their manifesto, they've not done this, they've not done that. And my retort was that the APC is not about to be stampeded at the dictate of the media, because the media is not the focal point here. The APC is not in competition with the media to wrest power. The APC is in competition with other political parties, and of course is answerable to the larger public. So the media will not stampede the APC. The APC, being an experienced party, would also take its time to put its house in order and make sure that all the operations concerning the campaign are top of the line.
Okay, sir.
The T's must be crossed, the I's must be dotted, and then we come, and as God will have it, we are unveiling tomorrow.
Great. Your thoughts, sir. We are going on a short break.
Live TV.
Okay, welcome back to the second segment. We still have Mr. Dele Alake on the show. He's the advisor, media, communications and public affairs of APC Presidential Campaign Council. Before we went on break, he was telling us about the preparation of the party for the election. So, sir, you can...
Yes, but like I said, the unveiling of the action plan is tomorrow, and the president is going to inaugurate the campaign council in the same breath. So, to all intents and purposes, the show is on. The campaign has started. And once the campaign council is formally inaugurated and the manifesto, which is titled the action plan, is unveiled, then we go on the hustings.
So what kind of action should Nigeria be expecting from Asiwaju Bola Tinubu?
It's going to put this country online, number one, and fundamentally, because it's an offshoot of this government, which nobody can dispute that, because it was part and parcel of the origin of this government. So therefore, it's going to consolidate on whatever achievements there are on ground, and then resolve whatever challenges that this administration will leave behind. And don't let's forget that there is no government anywhere in the world that can solve all problems within its own tenure. It's impracticable, humanly impossible. At best, if you had 10 plans, or items on your plan, and you are able to achieve 7, that's an A or 8. But no government has been able to achieve 100% of everything that it sets out to do, because of the dynamic nature of societies. Even if you plan to achieve 10 items, by the time you are getting to 7, 8, 9, the necessities of exigencies would have increased those items that you should do. It would have stretched to 13, 14, 15, So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that, yes, we are also recognize that there are challenges in the country, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is going to bring his experience, exposure, which is, I call selective exposure, and expertise in the management of resources and development of human capacity to resolve whatever challenges that we will meet on ground.
Many critics of this current APC-led administration will argue that the government has not done well vis-a-vis cost of living, insecurity, and other social and economic challenges.
Right.
But from what you have said, you don't seem to share that sentiment that the government has failed.
I did say that the Asiwaju is going to consolidate on whatever achievements there are, and again, in good conscience, even if we were the most virulent critic of this government, there are certain areas that you must give it some kudos. In infrastructural area, for instance, it took this government to complete the Niger Bridge, which has been there for over 40 years. And that's in the southeast. And we've had people from the southeast at the commanding heights of this national economy and politics in the past. And that thing wasn't done. And it's taking this government to do it. We shouldn't shy away from the fact, even though we also acknowledge there are challenges. Look at the rail, whether we like it or not. Even if you argue that, some other people started it, but it takes a presence of mind to finish it. Because it could have been otherwise, and in any case, in the last 40, 50 years, we've had several administrations that look the other way in terms of the rail development and all that. Yes, some might have started, but did not complete it. So if this government also came into office and did not look
in that direction,
yeah, that's it. We would have lost the opportunity. But, it had a sense of responsibility to decide to complete unfinished projects. Because government is always a continuum. And that is an attribute that we should commend. And in some other areas, there are even the challenges. There are some of the challenges that are also not entirely exclusively localized, that have foreign dimensions, international implications, the things that are happening in the international community. Look at the Ukraine-Russia war. It has an effect here, on the economy. The oil price in the international market.
The COVID
issue. These are, matters that any government would not have, or a local government in Africa would have very little room to maneuver, out of. Yes, there are other areas that we feel the government could have, done better. But like I said, ab initio, there's no government that solves all the problems because it's humanly impossible. So the government has recorded some successes, and there are still some challenges. And don't forget that even the security that the good thing you are mentioning, that yes, the security was quite disheartening at some point, but also let us be true to our conscience. In the last 1 month or so, the situation has been getting better.
True.
We must acknowledge that fact. It's getting better. And the president keeps promising that he is going to get much better by the time he's
leaving office. He actually said that he will have considerably dealt with the issue of insecurity before he leaves.
So the jury is still out. We can't write the conclusion yet. And even in other areas too. The government is still a work in progress.
So you said earlier that President Buhari will inaugurate the campaign council tomorrow, and also the action plan will be unveiled.
True.
So beyond inaugurating the campaign council tomorrow, will President Buhari lead this campaign as the chairman of the council?
That is implied already. He's the chairman of the campaign council. So he's going to lead the campaign, as much as is practicable, given the fact that, don't forget that governance must still go on. Governance must go on. So whenever it's feasible for him to show face physically at campaign rallies, he will do so. If not, the campaign already has its blessing, and then everybody, and whatever his role, in terms of support, I can tell you, is giving the support adequately.
And one thing the president has never failed to say in the public is fond of describing Asiwaju Tinubu as his friend and partner.
True.
So are we going to see that partnership in this election between the two men?
We will, and he has said so. He even repeated it not too long ago, to dispel certain misconception and misperception that some people in the villa are not in sync with Asiwaju in this project and all. He came out to say that he is going to campaign for his party.
Yes, I remember he said that.
He said it openly. That was a subtle response to dispel that
insinuation.
So, and I can also confirm to you that he's been giving tremendous support to Asiwaju, in private and in public. And whenever he says Asiwaju is his friend and partner, I don't even think we should make any issue out of that, because it is obvious. It's obvious. I recall in 2013, late 2013, when there were the stirrings of a merger, were in the offing. I was with Asiwaju when he first visited him in Kaduna. I was there. Sunday that he was there on that trip, and we went to, when exploratory talks
were going on
about the possibility
of merging the opposition parties there.
Don't forget that an attempt was made in 2011, thereabout, which faltered. So this time around, Asiwaju started the thing again. And we went to his house, met him, had a meeting with him. I did the communique of that meeting that day. I wrote it in longhand, because there was no
computer and all of that.
Anything around, and the president read it in his house to the media people there in the compound that day. That was the very first practical step of exploratory talks on the way forward at that time.
Okay, before we go, because we are running out of time, Mr. Alake, as an advisor for this campaign for APC, your parting shot, why do you think Nigerians should vote for APC and Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as next president?
Because Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the best that there is in the field today. When you look at the track records and antecedents of all the other contenders, let me say the three major ones, Obi, Atiku, and Asiwaju, none of the others have Asiwaju's experience, exposure, expertise, altruism, public spiritedness, vision, knowledge, and courage. These are factors that are required now. And except that you say there is no more time, I would have gone into the details. Ab initio, Tinubu is the only one today that's contending that was even part of the struggle to enthrone this democracy that we are practicing. The others, so he knows the nuances of democracy, the principles, the ethos, the convention of democracy. He understands it. So Nigerians are going to really enjoy true democracy.
So, Mr. Alake, we have to go. I know you can go on and on. Thank you, viewers. We have come to the end of the show for this week. Thank you, Mr. Dele Alake, for your time. I remain your host, Temitope Ajayi. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Alive TV.